Yeah, so this is where we left off last in the tutorial. If we take a look, we notice that Blender is actually applying our wrap to the top of the can where we don't want it to be applied, as well as the bottom. And what we want to do for those parts is just give them that metallic texture. So let's go ahead and we're going to move over to the shading workspace again. So shading, make sure we're in the can here. And at the bottom where it says slot 1, you're going to click on that and you're going to hit this little plus icon to create a second slot. We're going to hit new and we're going to rename this material by clicking once in here to metal or aluminum, whatever you want to name it. Cool. So that's been changed to metal. We're now going to go into edit mode with the can selected, so tab. And give me 1 second, I'm going to see if I can turn on these keys. All right, I was turning these keys so that way you guys can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to hit 3 on my number pad here. I'm going to go into X-ray mode. And I'm going to first select this bottom loop because I always forget it. So Alt Option, click on this, left click on this edge here to select that entire loop cut. I'm going to hit 3 to go to side view. Hold the Shift key and then box select everything up at the top. Cool, so all that is selected. Now I'm going to go down to the bottom, zoom in so I can make sure, oops, I'm getting the right stuff. So holding down Shift again to add to the selection, box select, everything at the bottom here. Do I need to select this? Okay, it's up to you if you want to add this portion to it. Can't remember if it's added on there or not. I'm going to go for it this one time. Why not? All right, so you have both of those selected. Cool. Oh, I keep trying to hit Shift. There we go. All right, so with those two selected, you're going to go down to where it says slot 1 again, but you're going to select metal, and then you're going to select assign. All right, so it should have changed colors. It looks like it. Yep. All right. So we can now focus on changing this color down here. So where it says base color, you're going to left click on that once. And here you can actually change the color of the can. So if your design calls for something that's not aluminum or just gray, right? You can change that color here. I'm just going to stick to gray. So I'm going to drop this down to about right there for now. I can get out of X-ray mode to see how that's looking. And where it says metallic, we're going to left click and drag this all the way up to 1. And you see that it's starting to get that look. We just have to play around with some more settings. Where it says roughness, you're going to left click and just drag this down. It's going to make it look a little bit shinier. This is completely up to you how shiny you want this top part. I'm okay with something like that for now. And the cool thing is because you've already assigned this, you can always come back in here, change the color, the settings, and then it'll apply to anything that has been assigned to slot 2. So I'm going to go back into object mode and we're going to apply this to the rest of this. So I'm going to select this tab first. And you'll notice that it's not popping up here. So you can always come to your properties or materials. Sorry, you can come to materials in your properties panel, which is this little globe right here. And then click this little drop down and you should find that option there. So I'm going to hit metal and now it'll bring it up. To apply this to multiple things at once, just go ahead and click on this lid, hold Shift, click on the little circle. And then the last object you're going to click on while holding down Shift is the tab because it has that texture we want. So Shift, left click on this, and then Control L or Command L. And you're going to select Link Materials. And there you have it, y'all. So looking good so far. Next thing we're going to work on is applying something similar to that to the main body of the can, because if you noticed, the top bottom looks realistic, the middle is looking kind of flat. So let's go ahead and fix that. We can click on the bottle again. Ooh, make sure we're in slot 1. Okay, click on that bottle. Making sure it didn't apply it. Okay. Ooh. And where it says metallic, you can raise this up higher to see it apply to your can. And again, this is all going to be different because we all have different designs. I put it all the way up to 1. I can take the roughness down here a little bit too if I wanted to. I'm actually going to make a bunch of nodes in here, and you guys can follow along to make it more realistic. But if you are happy with the way it's looking right here, you can jump ahead to the environment that we're going to add. But I like realism. Your clients will like realism. So follow along for these textures. So we're going to add a noise texture. You do that by hitting Shift A on your keyboard. Make sure your mouse is down here, by the way. You're going to click on the search icon here, and you can type noise texture. I'm going to drag this somewhere right here for now. And I basically want to connect this factor to the roughness. So factor to roughness. And you'll notice it's starting to get some textures. This is just so it gives my can this illusion of like condensation because it's a cold drink, right? And then you're going to connect this vector output in mapping to your vector input of the noise texture we just added. Cool. And you can, again, there's settings in all of these nodes that you can play with to see what you like for your can design. I'm not going to play with distortion though. Oops. Yeah. So let's move on to the next one. Once you've added that, we are going to add, I'm going to actually move these because we're going to need some space, an RGB curves node in between here. So Shift A, search for RGB curves. If you just drop it in between here, it'll recalculate for you. Focus on this curves we just added. I want to drop a little dot right here, drag this down. Oh, that might be too much. And then another dot up here to bring this up higher. And at this point, y'all, this is all preference, how much you want to play with this. Because again, everybody's can is different. So find what works best for you. Cool. So, and I know we're seeing trees in the back. We are going to change that, I promise. That's later on at the end of this video. Okay, but that's in between there now. So let's move on to adding the fingerprints image into these nodes here. So remember, you can come to your assets folder and just drag and drop that image in here. Okay. In order for us to connect this image correctly, we need an additional node that helps recalculate how it's going to blend in with this. So once you add the image, you're going to add a mix RGB node. So again, Shift A, search for mix RGB. And you want to drop it in between the RGB curves and the principled. This is your main node, so I'm just going to drop it in there. And now I can connect this color output to this color 2 input of my mix RGB. It's looking kind of dark. So I can come in here and to where it says mix and change this to add. Awesome. So think about this little node here as like the blending mode in Photoshop. They look all very similar here. So maybe add's not going to work for you, or maybe you need to take the factor up or down depending on your can design. Okay with 0.3 to be honest. I can change this if I wanted to too, or bring this up if I wanted to as well. All right, so all of that is looking pretty good. I might just add one more node, and again, this is the smudges image that I have there. So let me drag and drop this in here. And I might have to shift these around. Okay. For the smudges, I'm going to connect the color to the specular, this top one here. So let me move this higher, color to specular. I'm going to do Shift A, and I'm going to look for an invert option, drop it in between the smudges and the principled. And now I have a little bit more control over this, how the smudges is going to interact. It has taken some time. All right. So again, take some time to play with the different settings in your noise texture node, your RGB curves, your add or your mix RGB, how this is mixing. If you absolutely hate everything, this to me just looks more realistic, like how a Red Bull can would look out of a fridge. But you can box select all of this here. I'm going to hit M to mute it. And if you like the way this looks, that's fine. Maybe you absolutely hate it, so you can box select everything and then hit X to delete it. But to me, it's just more realistic. I'm going to mute it really quick so you can see. You would basically just mess around with these options on your own. I'm going to leave that. So once you have this settled down, I'll leave that up for a while so you guys can kind of see the craziness. We're going to move on to changing this HDR image for when we're actually shooting our animation. So to do something similar to that, you're going to hit this drop down here and you're going to go to world. You're going to click on this background and then do Control T. There we go. You're going to hit open. Again, to your assets folder, and you're going to look for something that says Photo Studio 01. You're going to hit open. Cool. So you notice nothing really changed at this moment because we won't see this image unless we're in rendered view. And to go into rendered view, you come over to this little circle over here. If you hover over them, it'll tell you this is called your rendered view. And now we kind of see this cool Photo Studio lighting that we're going to be using for our animation. So if this helps you a little bit better, so if I go over to object and maybe now I want to customize this stuff to better fit it, this is a perfect opportunity for you to do that. But I'm going to do a quick file, save as. This is 06 and we're in textures. There's one already in there, but I'm just going to save over it. Cool. All right, y'all, so we're going to move on to the animation portion next. Make sure you do save as in this part, make any changes like I said, and we'll see you in the next video.